Guten Abend. So now I am going to do something that many of you in Grenada should have done before this hoax was sprung upon you. And I'm talking about research. Okay? We live in a world now where everything is at our fingertips. So if you don't know something and you're not sure about something, you can click it up on your phone, your laptop, or your personal computer. But I realize that many of you were negligent, and those who are the elders in the society and the intelligentsia in the society, and especially the people who are themselves architects and engineers who should know better, okay? And if they didn't know better, then they're not worth being in this practice, okay? So those who didn't know, but who form part of the intelligentsia in Grenada, should at least have taken it up upon themselves and do a little bit of research, and then no one would have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and taken for granted and have this Polaris project hoax sprung on them in the way it was sprung on them. So all you had to do, okay, is go to Google and do a simple research. What is a concept plan? So I've done it for you. I didn't need to do it for myself, but I've done it for you. So, as you would see on the screen, you can always pause it to read what it says. Did a type in, what is a concept plan? What does it say? A concept plan is a high-level, early-phase overview of a project that defines its broad vision, goals, and layout before detailed design begins. Okay? It illustrates potential solutions such as site layouts or business strategies to build consensus and test viability. Okay? So synonyms means that things that means the same include schematic design, preliminary design, layout plan, and initial proposal. Okay? So basically in the architectural context, it's a site plan showing how a new building fits on a lot. That's all it does. Just shows the outline of the building on the lot, and including basic parking, utility lines, and building footprints. Okay? How the building is situated on the property. That's a concept plan. Preliminary design. So what are the key characteristics of a concept plan? Okay? It's flexible. The layout's shapes are conceptual, not strictly final. So it's conceptual. Higher level. What does it focus on? What rather than how. So just basically say, oh, what we're going to build, and this is what it might look like. And again, they specifically said it's not final. Identifies feasibility, helps to determine if the project goals are achievable within the constraints. Okay? It's early phase, produced early in the project to guide and not replace final design. So these are not even close to final design. So let's go on now. I typed another little research in Google, which says, how long does it take to create final architectural plans for a 250-bed hospital? And as you will see, as I said, you can always pause the video and read it for yourself. It says, creating final permit-ready architectural plans for a 250-bed hospital is a complex process that typically takes 12 to 18 months, with the design, development, and construction document phases forming the core of this timeline. Okay? So developing the design and the construction document phases, that means final detailed plans, okay, form the core of this timeline. Takes up most of the time then. Okay? For a project of this scale, which involves intricate medical planning, specialized engineering, and regulatory compliance, the process is usually broken down into several stages over a 1 to 2 year period before construction begins. Okay? So it's obviously deception and blatant lie for people to tell you that, oh, this should be ready in 2029, 3 years from now. When the detailed construction plans, architectural plans themselves takes 12 to 18 months. Okay? So how are you going to get this hospital ready in 2029, within 3 years? But I'll explain to you why they had to spring this deception on you. It's to justify the money flow. They wanted to come, bring you a concept plan, and most people don't understand what is a concept plan. You had the young lady saying it was a final plan. All the designs are done. Okay? Because for the person who doesn't understand about drawings and architecture and engineering, they'll be like, oh, well, we could just use this concept plan and build this building. No. So they had to come and dazzle you with this little concept plan and create this whole opening ceremony and groundbreaking, okay? So they can justify the money flow and they can come to you and ask for more money. Having spent over 22 million on God knows what, okay? They can come now and say, well, look, we're actually doing something. We need more money. This is how devious and dangerous and cold and callous, okay, these people are. All of this while people are suffering. Can't even get reagents, okay, to do blood tests and stuff like that. So it tells me how much they care about the regular man, woman, and child in Grenada, okay? So you spend 22 million. All you have to show to the Grenadian people is a concept plan, which represent 1%, 2% of the entire final architectural design. Where the heck did you spend that money? On what? Even if I gave you, and this is usually cost about $500,000 EC, okay? So even if I gave you 5 million out of that 22 million, okay, to get all this schematic done and to get whatever, travel and stuff like that. Even if I give you 5 million, what did you do with the other 17 million? What did you do? Again, Miss Andrea Sembernard and Mr. Dolan has to explain that to us. But this was all a show to get you vested. They say, look, we're doing something, man. We're making moves towards Polaris. So they could continue the gravy train and continue the flow of money. Okay? They could ask for another 20 million. Okay? This is how serious this is. This is what is being sprung on the Grenadian people. And I want you to see through it. So let's talk now about the key phases and timelines of this architectural design. Okay? The first phase is a schematic design after the concept plan, which is 2 to 4 months. All right? Defining the broad layout, clinical workflows, and conceptual design. Okay? So part of the conceptual design has to do with the schematics. Okay? It's initial concept. This is more like a 1% concept. And then you have to do a lot more schematics, which involves defining the broad layout, clinical workflows. Okay? Now there's design development, which takes 3 to 6 months. That is refining the plan, selecting materials, integrating the HVAC, okay, electrical systems, and finalizing room layouts. Okay? That is design development. Construction documents, which they have said is the core, it takes the most time, is about 4 to 8 months. That's where you're creating the final, highly detailed, remember I told you guys about ADP, advanced detail plans, okay, and technical specifications for permits and construction. Okay, so this technical specifications, this is where you specify all the materials associated with this hospital. And that in itself is like a whole book, okay? Can be this thick, okay? Because these are certain specifications that are needed in terms of the materials being used, okay? And they have to meet certain requirements. All right. So the permitting now and the approval, and that is where your local department, health department, or your planning department will take a look at the drawings to ensure that these plans are in accordance to what is required. Okay? Your health department and your local planning department, I'm sure they're going to get help with this, okay, to review these plans, all right, and to make sure that everything is in order. Now, a project of that nature, you're talking about sheets and sheets of drawings. And you're talking about a technical specification this high. So that's a lot of review. So they're actually given 1 to 6 months for that review. And the reason being, okay, is that there may be certain things in those drawings that need changing, okay, based on the local authority and the health department and based on what the planning department sees. Again, as I said, they might get some sort of help for review. They might sub that out to someone to do the review, okay? But that takes time. And you would see that they say here, the factors influencing the timeline. Revisions. There is always revisions. No set of plans gets immediately approved. Okay? There's always something that needs to be revised or reviewed. Okay? So there's multiple rungs of revisions. Okay? From your local departments, the health department, the Department of Planning, or whoever they decide to sub this out to. Okay? Because they will review this and they'll have their comments. You must have a team, okay, an independent team reviewing these drawings, okay? Okay, so what affects the timeline again? The complexity. A 250-bed hospital includes complex units like ICUs, radiology suites, and emergency departments, which require extensive coordination, okay? Extensive coordination. Consultant coordination. Now remember, there are many, as I told you, the architect is basically the lead on the project. So the architect coordinates with the mechanical guy, coordinates with the electrical guy, and also coordinates with the structural guy, the guy who does the building structural. They also have to coordinate with the foundation guys because this case, as I have told you, is a floodplain. So the geotechnical guys, okay, will have to get involved because more than likely, you'll have to use piles in this project. Okay? So if you look right at the bottom where it talks about the timeline, okay, factors influencing the timeline, you will see that it says specifically for a large-scale new hospital, allowing at least 12 to 14 months for the entire architectural design and planning process is standard before what? Before breaking ground. Okay? So Google and the AI has testified to what I told you guys. Okay? That all of this was political theater. Okay? And I understand why they might have done it. There's a lot of other political parties rising right now, coming on the scene, you know. They might have seen NNP got a little bump with having their 15 candidates ready. They might have seen the DPM making moves, and that might have, you know, scared people a little. So politically, they had to put on some theater, some political theater, and have this groundbreaking for Polaris to rile up, to make emotional the people of Grenada. But that, my friend, was extremely disingenuous. It was savage. It was brutal. Okay, to actually spring this on the Grenadian people. And you people are all lawyers, right? So you understand in a court case, how do you destroy credibility? You catch somebody in a lie. Okay? In a court case, you catch them in a lie, and what do they say? They say, well, we cannot trust what this guy is saying, or this girl is saying. We caught her in a lie. So going forth, that person, okay, what they say cannot be trusted. So it is quite obvious because these people have deceived the Grenadian people in such a savage way. How? can you trust them going forward? It means also that everything they have done in the past has also been deception. Okay? Because people don't get up one day and say, oh, you know what? I'm going to try this sort of major savage deception for today. And you know what? I'm not going to use it again in the future. It is quite obvious that these people have been deceiving the Grenadian people in the past, just sprung a major savage deception on the Grenadian people with this hocus pocus hoax, okay, of a groundbreaking, and will continue to deceive savagely the Grenadian people. So I know, it's hard to accept. And many of you now will have a broken heart. And that's understandable. Okay? That's understandable. But what do you do? It's like a relationship. What do you do when your trust is broken? First, you have to take a back stand and reassess the sort of relationship you had with the people who actually so savagely deceived you. It's not easy to move on from that. I understand. You know what I'm saying? But it's good that you've seen through this right now. Okay? One thing I can promise you is that the GSDP, the Grenada Social Democrat Party, would be straightforward with you and would not engage in this sort of misrepresentation, this sort of vicious, savage deception. Okay? So Miss Andrea St. Bernard and Mr. Dolan have a lot, and a heck of a lot, of explaining to do. And now I understand why. I remember they had said that, there was going to be a panel discussion with Perkins and Wills where you can ask questions. Now I understand why Perkins and Wills might have bailed on them. Because Perkins and Wills, they have experience. It's a big-time architects. They didn't want to put their reputation on the line, okay, to get involved in political deception. So that is why they preferred, because they know, they're like, what the hell is, they probably must have been, what the heck is going on here? Groundbreaking? We just gave you guys concept plans and you're going to do groundbreaking? So they know it's political. They know it's political theater and theatrics. So that is why probably Perkins and Wills bailed before there was any panel discussion. They would never put their reputation on the line. These people have a reputation to protect. I have had the opportunity, thank goodness, to work with some of the biggest, architectural firms in New York City. Daniel Frankfurt, Lee Harris Pomeroy. Okay? As a matter of fact, we worked with some of the biggest engineering firms. Okay? Musa Rutledge, the guys who created the foundation for the first World Trade Center. Okay? And I know how these people operate. Okay? So these people don't play around when it comes to their work and reputation. As a matter of fact, we even worked with one of the biggest engineering firms in the whole world, Arup, A-R-U-P. Okay? International English Company. So again, I know the mentality and I know the thinking of these people, and they would not jeopardize their business to get involved in any political theater. And that is the reason why they probably bailed before any of this could have unfolded. But as I have said, we here at the GSDP see ourselves as the defenders of the Grenadian people. So it was very difficult for me to sit back and allow this to happen to my people. Breaks my heart. I couldn't just stand by idly and let this happen. And I know you're also heartbroken to know that this was sprung on you. But, it's best that you found this out now. It's best that you found this out now so you know going forward, this is all smokes and mirrors. Okay? This is all deception. This is how it works. At least this is how these guys have decided to deal with the Grenadian people. And it's just heartbreaking. Because they're, the regular Grenadian man and woman is pouring their heart and soul, their belief, their emotions into this. Some of them are cursing me out, But hey, I'm a wolf, man. We don't worry about that. You know what I mean? We back strong. We can take talk. And trust me, we could give. So I don't worry about that because I know the mission is bigger. Okay? Ultimately, the Grenadian people, they are the mission. Okay? They are more important than anybody else. Politicians will come and go. But Grenada and Grenadians remain forever. So these are the people I am concerned about. So I'm more than happy to have exposed this charlatanistic, savage hoax, savage deception that was sprung on the Grenadian people. And there's a reason why this is being done. I mean, this is not being done for naught. This is being done in a very, rapacious way, I believe. Okay? And I believe it's sort of to use the machinations of government and the earnest ambitions of the Grenadian people and their need for healthcare, okay, for improved healthcare, to try to use this and in the process try to deceive the Grenadian people and make a serious money on their head and enrich themselves. This is what this is about. The aim is not really noble, okay? This is not these people wanting to really bring some sort of improved healthcare to you. The aim, you have to know human nature. It's driven by money. That is what it's driven by. Okay? And if that means using the emotions and the feelings of the Grenadian people and deceiving them, remember I had mentioned in the past about the coldness and the callousness of certain characters. And it really takes just a different level of coldness and callousness to look at the Grenadian people, to smile at them, and actually spring this on them. That, my friends, is brutal. So remember, you can pause the video in the parts where you have to read, so you can actually see what is a concept plan, and you can see how long it takes to create the architectural plans. And you can read through it, and you'll see what I'm saying. All right? So the bottom line is this. This is what I believe happened. They blew out that 22 million, cut it up however way they wanted to cut it up. You understand? Probably spent a 3 million probably to take care of whatever they got to take care of. And then, they split this. And then they split this however they got to split this. This is just cold. It's not even laughable, but it's brutal. Pay themselves handsomely. You see what I'm saying? And then they say, you know what? All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring some 1%, 2% concept plans to the Grenadian people. We're going to dangle it in front of them, dazzle their eyes, and say, look, we're on our way to the Polaris project. Because nobody ever does a breaking ground, okay, and have this lavish ceremony, okay, for 1%, 2% concept plans, as I have shown you earlier, okay? And once they've dazzled you and, bamboozled you a little, guess what? They're going to come now and they're going to hit you up for another load of cash. They'll say, give me another 20, 30 million. And this is more than we expected. Look out. You want to bet me? It's coming. It's coming. They're coming to hit up the Grenadian taxpayer for a few more millions, okay? That's just going to get you to 30%. So they will milk this for as much money as they can. In the end, like everything else they have done. You see, closure costs like 6 times. In the end, I don't know. This one might cost about 10 times what it is supposed to cost. Okay? They will bleed that for as much money as they can. And in some respects, I believe that they don't trust or they don't have faith in this Polaris project because they want to pay themselves handsomely from the upfront end. They don't want this to drag out because if this thing had dragged out and they, pay themselves a little as they go along, nobody would notice. But because it seems like people are so rapacious and avaricious at the front end, it tells me they don't believe in the project. You understand? Because they could have eaten a little and then people say, well, we understand they need to make a little money on this. But when you grab so much and you raft so much up front, you're making me think that, boy, this is like an insurance policy. Let me grab what I could grab right now because I'm not sure if you're going to get a second term. And if I wait, remember this thing is going, as I told you, it's 12 to 18 months for the design phase just to get the architectural drawings done. So what does that do? That takes you pretty much into election. They have to call elections within that 5 years. So guess what? If that takes you all the way close to elections, they have to focus on elections. So nothing going to happen again on that project. Okay? For a while. So it's like, let me take my money. Okay? Let me get paid on this. Use it as an insurance policy just in case. Because politics is unpredictable. It's quite possible they could not get a second term. But then they would have left this, handsomely rewarded. And this is what this is about. So it's about the money. Yeah. It's about the money. Not for you, but for them. But it's just sad. And it's just cold and wicked in some respects. Especially knowing what's going on with the regular Grenadian man and woman and unable to, take care of their healthcare and stuff like that. It's just brutal. And in some respect, it's indecent. You know what I'm saying? Just indecent. I mean, everybody knows they probably make a little bit of money in politics, but this is just like indecent. And that is why I tell you, use the expression, these are snake oil salesmen. Okay? They dangle things in front of you. And they're pretty cunning. Dangle things in front of you, rile you up emotionally, and you get into a trance. And at the same time, they're making their moves and handling their business while you're in a trance and you don't even see what's going on, and you're so caught up in your own emotions, it's sad. It's sad. It's just sad, really sad. But that is what is taking place. That is what is being sprung on the Grenadian people. And you've got to wake up. Because if you don't wake up, you'll get deeper and deeper in a hole. And then your children and your grandchildren will have to pay for this. And you'll be stuck with the bill. And that is why I say it's like a Ponzi scheme. Because who get in first? They're getting in first. Okay? So they're getting whatever they could get. And then Grenadians now will be left with the debt to pay back. So that is a Ponzi scheme of sorts. The people get in first, grab what they grab, and then they bail. Even if they lose the election, guess what? They're comfortable. They're okay. But the Grenadian taxpayer will be held with that massive bill that would have been incurred for any, no matter what stage you get in this, Canadians will still be left with a bill on some level. Okay? That's how it works. So the choice is yours. If you want to continue sleeping on this while these people make their moves, or you're going to wake up, realize what's going on, and demand accountability, demand transparency on this project. So whatever they took already, let them go with it. See what I'm saying? But going forth, you have to demand clarity, accountability, and thorough exposure of the money being spent on this project. Else they will milk the taxpayers, the Ghanaian taxpayers, as much as they could. Okay? So, it's your choice. It's your money. You got to know what's happening. Until next time, guten Abend.